And we're live.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, here we are in a new format.
I know we're not just our voices today. I can see you. People can see us. This is kind of cool.
People can see us. That always makes me a little nervous. I'm like, is the lighting okay? But we're fine. So here we are at I think this is our second live event, right?
It is our second live event. And for the podcast, we're on like number 60 something. No,
we're on like number 84. Like,
no,
like you missed like.
Okay, everyone, I've been losing time. I'm still in the pandemic. I apologize. Time is just lost. Okay. I think I lost like 6 months around here, right?
Yeah. This is like episode 84, 85. I can't ask Jessica because she's not on the screen where she normally is. And we're super excited. So we have all sorts of things happening on this particular podcast. Obviously, it's live.
Yes.
We have more than one guest. We have 4.
Yes, which is new.
4, but one is like not really a guest anymore.
She's a part of the team, but we'll tell everybody about that later.
Right. We have a couple of people who have been guests and now have come back because they're amazing and we want their expertise. And then we have a new person on the screen that we're gonna get her back a couple more times too. So that's super exciting. And I was just and it's the equinox, which is really exciting. So it's the fall equinox. It's Virgo season. And for some of you who have received emails from me recently, Liz got one earlier today that is full Virgo. And for those of us, who are here, almost all of my planets are in Virgo. So it's insane. The emails it's crazy. So I'm like, I can't wait to organize stuff this weekend. And did we have a full moon?
I'm not sure. We did. Okay. Some people have been paying attention to the moon. I have not.
Yesterday. I want to say yesterday. It was yesterday.
Really?
Okay. So we're still feeling the wane of the full moon. So there's all sorts of stuff happening. But the big announcement is that we are live. And you, Ednesha, and we have another big announcement because we are going to be I'm going to let Liz and you do it. So why don't you introduce our guests? How about that?
Okay. Well, let's just tell everybody what we're going to be talking about today, right? So tonight we're going to kind of be talking about what does it mean to be well, right? And we are introducing our new health and wellness initiative at BeWELL Psychotherapy called Indigo108, which Liz is going to tell you guys all about a little bit later. But why don't I introduce the panel? So we have Liz Buehler Walker, which is our new Director of Health and Wellness of BeWELL. Say hi, Liz.
Nope.
Hello, everyone. Hi, panelists. Hi. No?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yes?
You're on.
You're on. You're totally on.
Oh, okay.
And so I also have...
anyway, it's good to be here. Oh.
So,
I think we have a slight delay.
Just a little bit.
It's okay. It'll work itself out.
Okay. I'm going to go and say hi, everyone. Hi, panelists. Hi, guests who are here at the live event. And hi to people who are going to be listening afterwards. So happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Amina AlTai, who is a holistic leadership coach and trainer. And she's also been a guest on Be Real before.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me back.
And then we have Krishna Deluccia, and she is a registered dietitian, diabetes educator, and yoga and mindfulness instructor. She's also the founder of Om and Spice Wellness.
Thank you. This is my first time here, and I'm really excited to be with you all. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And then we have Jennifer Curdyla, and she actually has been on Be Real before as well. And I also have her book. She is an Ayurveda health counselor, yoga teacher, and she's the co-author of Root and Nourish.
Hi, everyone. So great to be back.
Thank you so much. So, Diana, let's get right into it.
So before we get right into it,
okay,
let everybody who is listening and who is here live today know that during the course of the conversation, if you have questions about what we're talking about or comments, you can put them in the chat. And then at the end, we will leave time for a short Q&A, and that will all be done in the chat. And you can see the chat room on the right. And can you all see it on the panel? Yeah. So if you want to address somebody in particular, please be sure to use their names so that they can answer the question. And then we will circle back to questions at the end. That's my spiel. Otherwise, I'm ready to answer the question, what does it mean to be well? But go on.
Well, there it is. That is the question. Like, what does it mean to be well, and how does it relate to your specific discipline? Who wants to start us off?
I mean, I can.
Let's go, Diana.
Well, for me, what does it mean to be well? It started, I used I named my practice BeWELL because I believe that when you put your thoughts and feelings into words, it is the first step to being well, to understanding yourself and to being able to ask and get your needs met, understanding who you are, and really just being able to communicate what is important to you so that you are able to get all of the things that you want in your life or desire yeah, that's my answer.
Okay. Who else is going to let us know what it means to be well? All right, Amina.
Thank you. So I'm a leadership and mindset coach. And so a lot of people are always asking me, like, well, how does wellness play into your practices or what you share with people? And I believe that wellness is a conduit to clarity. And so when we're navigating spaces like purpose or what we do for a living or, what we're building in our businesses, that wellness and that clarity is so important, right? If we are clear, thanks to the wellness practices, we can hear our intuition. We can hear ourselves. We can connect to our higher self. I once had a teacher that had said something to the tune of, like, a disordered relationship with food or alcohol blocks the flow of godliness in our cells. And so I love that idea that wellness is this conduit to clarity and allows the godliness to flow through ourselves so we can be clear, so we can show up fully for the work that we're called to do and what we want to impact in the world.
I love that. Conduit to clarity. I might have to use that, Amina.
You're welcome to.
Well, thank you. And okay. Krishna.
I love that. That was really beautifully said. And I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience as both professionally and personally. I started working as a registered dietitian and a health coach in telehealth, like back in 2007, as I was entering the workforce. And it was the first time I realized that, helping people make lifestyle change doesn't occur in a silo. It's not like, okay, I'm going to just work on my nutrition. I'm going to work on my physical activity. Like, they're all extremely interrelated. And, as I moved throughout my career and, just was doing my own personal work and working with other people, I started realizing that there are all of these other circulating factors that kind of impact how we feel in every given moment. And especially, I think now during the pandemic, we can all say that there's certain ones that truly affect our sense of wellness and well-being, like social connectedness, being able to be around the people that you love, and that is a part of being well, and so there are certain things that you wouldn't think of, like being financially secure, that can influence the way that you eat, and so they're just, it's this dynamic, fluid motion of one thing impacting and affecting the other. And so I think that the most important thing is to allow yourself to open your mind to what it is that is impacting you in both a positive and maybe a negative way.
Thank you for that.
I love that answer.
Jennifer?
Krishna, you really speak to the sense of my definition of wellness. And I'll say to start that I've been sort of moving away from the word wellness for various reasons. I feel like it's been a little bit commodified and commercialized. So I prefer really to use the word holistic health. And I think that health has its own connotations and sort of limits within our Western paradigm. But to me, in the systems that I practice within yoga and Ayurveda, health is really much more than just the absence of disease that we often think of in our Western culture. And for me, it's really rooted in this idea of integration, similar to what Krishna was saying. And within yoga and Ayurveda, there's this sense of integration of mind, body, and spirit, all contributing to one's health, as well as a sense of integration within your system. In my book, Root and Nourish, we talk about how 3 specific sort of areas of the body, digestion, mental health, and hormonal health, all feed into each other and support each other, or can affect each other or harm each other if one is not in balance. And there's this sort of cascade effect, but also this sort of spiraling and circularity. And so everything is connected within us, but then there's this bigger connection between us and the universe, us and our environment, us and the people that we spend time with, and how all of our energy and our presence in the world can have that have an effect on our health, and the state of our environment around us can also have an effect on our health, whether it's the people and their energy, or their health or lack of health, or the health or lack of health of our environment, of our planet. And so all of that is affecting the decisions that we make in terms of diet and lifestyle, which are our main tools in Ayurveda. And being able to accept that all of these factors play into how we feel at any moment, but also these bigger cycles of time, like our past, present, and future, being able to integrate past traumas or illnesses or injuries that we're not looking to cure, but to heal. That really has deeply affected the way that I consider my own state of health, and how I work with my clients.
I really like heal versus cure. There's something very nurturing about that language, and also that and healing is such a process, more that like cure is like boom, right? Like we did it, we found it, we did it. But there's so much healing that's involved in bringing all components of ourselves together.
Mm-hmm. And there could be a sort of morality sometimes attached to that idea, where if you have some whatever you're trying to cure, let's say that was a bad thing, that you need to be rid of it, or there's something wrong with you for having it. And healing is much more of an acceptance that this is part of me. I've learned from this, and there's many difficulties about that process, but with that attitude, there can be areas of growth, I've found.
Liz?
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you. It really struck me when you said that wellness or holistic health is not just the absence of something being wrong, but it is actually this sort of like active vibrancy. So I guess vibrancy would be the thing that comes to me when I think about like, what is well-being? What does it mean to be well? Is this sense of vibrancy, and it doesn't mean that everything is perfect. It doesn't mean that you don't have anything that you're working through or working with, but it's that you have there's like life in you, and so in yoga, the vibrancy that doing the breathing cultivates, and in Ayurveda, the vibrancy of all of our environment, all of the different colors in our environment and in our food, and the different relationships that we have. Are we being vibrant in the way we interact with the world? Are we accepting vibrancy in through our senses, from the conversations we have like this one, and the experiences that we're having? And I also just really appreciate everybody stating what it means to them, because it's also so self-determined, and it's different from one person to the next. And yet we all know what it feels like to be well. We know what that feeling is for each of us. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation as well.
Yeah, Jennifer, using the word healing, I love, because it's a journey. And to be well is a journey. It never ends, right? It's not like a finite thing, like you cure it and you're done. I think you're always on the journey to be well, because there's always going to be bumps in the road. So it's not something that's just like, oh, I'm well and everything is great. Because tomorrow, the next day, next week, next year, things can change. And so it's a journey that you're always on. It just feels like it's a continuum. So
from morning to the night. I mean,
from this morning to right now.
This morning to right now. There was in my life, it was a journey. It's one day in the life, but it was a journey.
So we are all in the business of supporting people, right, on their lives, on their journey. So each of us approaches it differently. So I want you to kind of tell the audience, how does your discipline kind of support the mental and emotional well-being of your clients? And who wants to take a stab at that one?
I'll go first since I went last time.
Okay, Liz.
I think one of the things that I do when I'm working with people in whatever way, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's in groups, whether it's, you know, in the embodied practices or in meditation, you know, whatever it is, whatever the tools we're using, I try to support people in knowing themselves, in knowing like what your threshold is, knowing what your limit is, knowing what makes you feel like yourself, and starting to really build the ability to trust that, knowing the spaces where you feel like you can be yourself, knowing the spaces where you need to be quieter or where you want to be really outgoing, and just being able to really have a relationship with yourself is the way that I'm working, at least right now. It's always a journey too, even the way you work, not just the personal wellness journey, but the way that we work with each other and our clients as well is it changes over time based on the world and based on where we are in our lives.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, I'm gonna jump on in.
In my work, I take what I call a mind, body, and business approach to coaching, because like we're a whole person, right? And Ednesha, you were talking about at the top of our session, talking about how sometimes you feel disconnected at the head and the body. Mm-hmm. And when I first came to coaching, I felt the same way. And my body was sending me all these signals. And I was like, no, mind's in charge, driving the bus, out you go. It wasn't until I like really started to listen. And I was like, oh, they're working together. This is the system. And I think of it as like almost like a four-legged stool of like mindset is such a huge piece of us being able to show up fully, to connect to the fullness of our being, to connect to the work we really want to do. Feeling well and whole in our bodies as well. Like if I don't have the energy or the vibrancy, or like I am held back by dis-ease, am I able to show up fully? No. The actual strategies and tactics we use in our work. And then spirituality too, right? Faith is such a huge component. And again, that was something I noticed on my journey too, of being like, okay, like the mindset's good, showing up in the tactics, but like I'm not doing so great on this faith piece. And that being a really big part of the medicine as well.
Thank you so much, Amina.
That is such a beautiful message. Go ahead. Just sit back and be quiet. I had to jump in a minute, but
no, it is beautiful. I work with people a lot on this idea of building healthy habits, which I like to frame in the sense of rituals, which gives, in my mind, a little bit more intentionality and mindfulness to something that's a habit, because often we think of habits as something that's sort of automatic or lacking mindfulness for good reasons. It saves energy and time. But when we have these containers in our day, whether they're meals or coming to a movement practice or other forms of exercise, making time for rest, those are the three really big containers that I tend to focus on. They become imbued with a sense of connection. They're little sort of anchor points in your day where you can really check in and evaluate, how am I doing? Like, what are the things that I need right now? What are the foods, whether it's edible food or food from your senses or food from your body or food from conversation and relationships or food from your work? What are the qualities of the foods that I need right now in order to make me feel balanced? And in our world where everything is so crazy and our lives have become so, the different pockets of our lives that maybe were separate before, namely work and home or school and home, have become so merged and fused. It's really hard to find areas where you can make those distinctions and take the time to check in with yourself. So I really think that in my experience within Ayurveda, especially, this idea of having rituals around your health can allow you to be preventive in your tactics of making sure that you don't get sick or you don't slip into imbalance, because you can notice right away, I'm feeling a little bit off today, or this thing that I used to do all the time is not working anymore. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be sick. It might just mean it's a new season or there's something else going on. And it's like, oh, that watermelon I was really into like a month ago is like not really working anymore. So I need to switch. But if you just keep eating the watermelon and never stop to think about it, you're going to be eating watermelon in December and no one's going to be happy about that. So rituals are where I like to have those moments of making that transition between checking in with yourself and then having your actions be able to have those ripple effects into your future self, but also allowing your future self to show up the best that you can for the future in time as well.
I love the slow down, like kind of taking that pause and kind of figure out what's going on.
Can I just add?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please add. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to add that rituals also, they bring that meaning as well. Like Amina, you were talking about the spirituality piece and the faith piece, and so many of the spiritual practices are so ritualized, and there's a reason for that. So it's so nice to think of, like with Indigo108, the new program at BeWELL, it's all about like finding the things that are meaningful for you. Like, what are the things that are meaningful for you? Is rest what's meaningful for you? And then what are the ways that you have entry points into that? And it's not just like you were saying about like changing habits to change habits or doing something because it's going to like be the right thing to do. But when you ritualize it, then there's meaning imbued with it. And so you will be naturally drawn to doing it rather than just doing it because like, oh, it's time for me to do my nighttime ritual now.
Exactly. It's much more of a intuitive process, but you can only get that when you're clear. When you have that clarity to be able to say, I'm going to choose this instead of that.
Yeah. And I was thinking as you were both talking, and you as well, Amina, is that one of the things like in my, and I came to psychotherapy and psychoanalysis from a very strong yoga and Ayurvedic background. So that followed me into the work. But in the analytic rooms, when we talk about repetition and when you talk about rituals, we talk about repetition and we talk about the repetition compulsion, and that like once it becomes so rote, we just get into it. We need things that we repeat so that we keep ourselves sane. Mm-hmm. And then when the maladaptive patterns start to take over, like these practices and the way that we're talking now allows us to just slow down and unwind it in a way that it's like that ball of yarn that's got a knot in it that you got to go back and find before you make the sweater. So like you're unwinding it slowly so that you can find it, and not in a jarring way, not in a way that you're like, oh, we're not going to do this today, we're going to stop cold turkey. It's like we're going to introduce slowly and look at where the balance is off, because we can talk. Ednesha and I can bring it to light, like we can bring it to the table, or have it move from the unconscious forward, and then we can take people pretty far. But for the most part, what we find, and I see this a lot in my own practice, is then the seekers go out. They're going out and they're running around seeking more things. So like being able to have like a panel, a group of wellness geniuses like we have right now, like who are actively like helping people to move through these patterns, and work with Ednesha and I in like the work that we're uncovering.
But it takes a team. I think a lot of us think that we can kind of do it all by ourselves. But like you say, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community to raise an adult, right? And so you find your community, right? And that might be in wellness professionals, and that might be in friends and family. But you have to find a community that's going to kind of push you forward every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love what you just said, because I think so
and with
much.
The slowing.
Oh, go ahead, Krishna.
I was just going to ask you a question, Krishna. Actually, I was going to say I've learned, one of the things I've learned from you, Krishna, is the ritual that you do at the beginning of your meal. So I would love if you would share when you're talking, share about that, the looking at the food and thanking. Yeah.
Yeah, Liz is talking about an Ayurveda series that I am currently teaching, and we've kind of spread it out to accommodate the seasons. And the ritual is, sitting in front of your food and placing your hands over your food and closing your eyes and just acknowledging everyone that was involved in bringing this meal to your table, including yourself, and the energy that this food will give you, the prana, the pranic energy that the food will give you. And actually, it made me think about what you were saying earlier, Liz, about that vibrancy, right? Because sometimes we look at the act of eating as just an act of eating, right? And we're oftentimes eating in front of our phone or our laptop or sometimes the TV, right? Or eating on the run. And so I think that so much of what I've heard in just this conversation is looking at food and eating as a spiritual act. And I'm very lucky because I have training in both the clinical side and the holistic side, with as a yoga teacher and a mindfulness and MBSR teacher, and also I teach Ayurveda. But I'm also a dietitian and a diabetes educator, and I really feel like my role is to firstly understand what motivates people to change and what motivates people to be healthy, but also what to help them bridge the gap between the two, between the clinical and the holistic, because oftentimes I feel like there's a fight to highlight one over the other. And there's so much confusion in the world that we live in regarding and I think Jennifer said that so beautifully, this word wellness has been so tokenized, and has been so used in a way that is used in a way to sell us something, when it's really innate within us. It doesn't need to be sold. And so I think that with the people that I work with one-on-one in group settings, even in large-scale wellness conferences, it goes back to the original conversation, is really tying in all aspects of what helps us feel balanced, centered, and grounded. And so talking about all of these things that need to support us in being well, like okay, I want to eat healthy, but how expensive is this going to be for me? And what are small things that I can do right now to make small changes, little by little, that are realistic. Like Jennifer said, eating in season, really, that's basically, you were kind of alluding to that in a different way. And a group series that I often offer is an intuitive eating group course, which focuses on the psychology of food and the behaviors that come with food and eating, like conditioning that we receive from our family from a young age, from society, what it means to be beautiful, what it means to be young, and what it means to age. And this is all so tied back to eating, right? And food. And so much comes up from that course, and it's amazing, and it's always so profound. So that's a series that I'm offering that's actually starting next week, and I'm really excited about that. I think I've talked a lot, so I'm gonna stop here. Thank you.
Well, while you're talking, I was like, okay, so I ate chips at my kitchen counter with some hummus before I ran out the door. And I was having a field day in my mind about my age while I was coming. So I'm like, oh, sign me up, Krishna. Sign me up. But I think it's like, it's also as you're talking about it in how, especially, I think that like during this time, especially coming out of the pandemic, one of the things, and I know that this has come up in the work that I do and also in my own personal life, is that I've had access to being able to cook for myself, to being home, to do it like, and I've created these patterns that have been probably much better for me. And now in this anxious time of having like, I'm working a hybrid schedule and I'm commuting and I'm doing different things and I'm feeling, phonetic and it's a change of season and I'm hungry and I'm not hungry. And I know I'm not alone in all of this because I hear it from my patients as well, is like when like remembering what to eat, remembering where you ordered from that was healthy, when you, or bringing your lunch or bringing snacks with you, places that were open and now are closed, and like how we're feeling in general is a little, and I'm speaking for everybody on the panel and for all everybody who I'm speaking for everybody, that like it's such a strange time, and like that to be able to find balance right now is just it like even for a spark of the day is it's amazing. It's like to even think about it. Like if I think about one balanced time I had today, I think it's right now. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is it.
And I think you bring up such a good point, because it's ultimately, how can you feel less guilty about your actions and feel more compassionate towards yourself?
Yeah. It's like, that's what I had time for. And it was delicious. And I was like, okay, I had to eat something.
I'd also add, Diana, that I've been thinking about this a lot, especially because of the time we're in, where in Ayurveda it is, described, and this is not just an Ayurveda thing, anyone can observe it. It's this time of great flux and change and instability. We see that in nature. But right now, especially, we have the equinox, and there's this sense of like this divine balance or cosmic balance. And in reality, balance is not really a thing, right? Balance is sort of like a continuum, or more of a sort of, I think of it as almost like the whole like wave particle situation, where it's not really a thing you can hold on to. It's not a concrete object, but it's also not something that is purely action. It's not purely movement. Like there's this sort of weird hybrid essence that balance is, and yet in our world we want it to be one or the other. So using compassion, I really like that word, Krishna, that having compassion for yourself on the balance continuum as well, that you're always, just like the planet, we're always sort of moving towards or away from things. And we could practice that a lot in yoga, and Liz, I'm sure you have lots to say and think about this too, that when we're practicing yoga, we can do a pose like tree pose or a handstand and be working towards that balance pose. And then you're there for like 4 seconds and then you're out. And then like, okay, I spent 5 years trying to do this pose and now maybe I won't ever do it again. Like there's this, so like we have put so much pressure on these ideal situations that are really just very fleeting moments. And when we can appreciate that and make the changes a little bit more rhythmic and contained, then change becomes a healthy thing rather than a disruptive thing.
I think about this constant transition that we all are in, right? Like we're dealing with, are we going back to the office? New mask mandates. Are we going to get vaccinated? Are the kids going back to school? Like all of this that's going on. How are you guys coaching your clients at this time to take the best care of themselves? Because I think that that's where people are struggling. How do I take care of myself in all of this transition and all of this probably imbalance? I don't even know where to start. How are you guys coaching your clients how to take better care of themselves? Okay, I'm gonna jump on in.
Like my codependency is so obvious. I'm like, there's silence.
I'll talk.
I'm gonna fill it.
I loved what you all were talking about with the idea of balance. It's like balance I've never really used that word because balance implies stasis, where it's really about like this agility and this nimbleness. And I think that this black swan moment that we've been in for 18 months is really asking for.
I love that the way you called it the black swan moment.
It is. I don't know.
That's a new one.
But I loved it. Go on.
But yeah, this is called for the most agility and the most nimbleness. And so I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I mostly work with women in leadership and a lot of women of color, a lot of them are parents, and they've all been really hard hit by the pandemic, whether they're like leading big teams or they're juggling teams and family and all the things and all the stuff. And so we sat down and we created some wellness plans. So how they were going to take care of their physical, emotional, spiritual well-being in this time. And we created 2 plans, and one was ideal and the other was minimal viable. So the ideal is like, yes, all the things that we want to get to. We want to get to the meditation and the movement and our spiritual practice and connecting with our community. And that's not possible a lot of the time. So what does our minimal viable wellness plan look like? Do we spend, 90 seconds doing breath work, and that's all we've got for the day, and compassion for ourselves around that nimbleness and agility, because the pendulum will swing back in the other direction.
I like 90 seconds.
I love minimal viable wellness plan. That feels easy. It feels like it's something I could do.
I'm like 90 seconds. I got 90 seconds to remember to breathe. I'm in. I love it.
I think that's such a great, it gives such a nice range, Amina. But my question for you is like, why does the minimal viable wellness plan have to be like one end of the spectrum? Like, why can't we be more simple in our expectations of ourselves all the time? Like, not just when we're in a pandemic and like going crazy. Like, the idea of simplicity, I think, is something that is undervalued in life. And I'm curious, like, if your clients find that if they're on that minimal plan, like, do they feel like that's enough? Like, where's the line that you're kind of towing with minimal versus enough? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, and a question I'd love to pose to them as well. And I think a lot of it is, maybe it's even a misnomer of minimal viable, because I think so much of it is, our time changes, our bodies change. And I think the real invitation is, how do we flex? How do we get nimble? How do we get agile? How do we not place judgment on whether it's minimal viable or the expanded version? How can we be in love with simplicity? I think that's a beautiful question.
Yeah. And I think we have a lot of, in this time as we're moving out of it, that a lot of people, I'm going to say people, are finding a different experience of minimal and simple, right? Like what their big lives looked like before aren't necessarily what they want to go back to. Some demands will be on them to go back. I know, just thinking of the people that I work with, like the demands to go back and like what they know that they have to let go of, that were times of like being home, that were comfortable and loving and warm with their insular community, and like the anxiety about going back and letting go of that. And so I think we have to redefine those things for ourselves too, in a way that fits into our new patterns of being as we go back out, right? Like it's not a new normal. It's just another way, right? Like we're using different language and we're having another transition, and how we take what we learned with us and examine the things, and again, examine the habits that we created that weren't great. And I just think, as I'm talking about it, and like how people shifted so quickly at the beginning of this pandemic, and the exhaustion in the brain of that shift. And now we're fortunate enough to be able, for the most part, a lot of people to be able to create their own, and I want to say it's not an exit plan, it's an intraplant. Like, what is it called? a going in plan that works more towards your works more with who you are, right? Which is what we, Liz and I have been talking about a lot with our health and well-being program, supporting people in that transition back in to be in their true nature as they go back out into the world in a new way.
You know, I was thinking about that, Diana, and when I piloted this program with a client, about halfway through, it became clear to me, and I said, oh, maybe we need to be talking about what you can take away instead of what you need to add, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe you don't need to add the lavender on the pillow and the hot water bottle and the night tea and the like, that's making you more stressed out. And so maybe we can talk about like, what can you take away? Maybe, you know, your evening after 8 p.m., you need alone time. Maybe, you know, like whatever it is, you need quiet time. Maybe you need to stop your day at 9 and read a book. And I think I would like to see that kind of work continue of like, what can I take away, right? The minimum viable wellness product, but also like, what am I returning to when I then take that away? Like what's in there? What am I returning to? And I think when we all got placed into shelter in place, and then George Floyd was murdered, and then the Black Lives Matter movement really swelled up and became very personal for people that it had not been personal for, and that we could see, like when some of the busyness got taken away, we could see and feel how we're connected and how we've been not taking care of each other. And so can we include that in our new wellness practice of like, what can I take away? What do I return to when I take that away so that I can be my vibrant self? But like, for what? Be my vibrant self so that I can participate in the world in a way that that brings us all to something maybe a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for naming that, Liz, because I've been experiencing that a lot lately, personally and also professionally, especially in the wellness industry. And I can only speak for myself, like being in a very whitewashed wellness industry, and kind of advocating for food and self-care and behavior change in a way that is unique to everybody's unique life, right? Like it's not a one size fits all plan for anyone. And like I'm Indian, and if you tell me to take away my rice and beans, I'll just like get really angry at you, and it's never going to happen, you know? And so there are things like that. Yes, please don't. So it's like, it's being like culturally sensitive, being culturally respectful, understanding how cultural appropriation has been a part of some facets of the wellness industry, and also kind of filtering it down to understand how that may be impacting the client that I'm working with. Because I think part of whenever you are looking to help someone make behavior change and understand like what self-care looks like for their own unique life, you're going to encounter some pushback, whether it's either to you as the practitioner or the person supporting them, or pushback within themselves, right? Because any part of behavior change there's going to be a mourning part of that, right? Because obviously we're engaging in these behaviors because they're giving us something, right? We're engaging in these behaviors because they're self-protective, or they comfort us, or they allow us to numb in a way that, you know, takes us away from the hardships of the world, right? And so like part of that is understanding why we use the things that we use, and that's including food, that's including activity, over exercise or not exercising at all. All of these things, right? They can be used as arrows towards us, where we can use it to comfort ourselves, to heal ourselves, or to punish ourselves. And I think that like whenever I'm working with a client, when we talk about that, it's almost like it's just such a revelation, right? And then someone said, I forget who said it, but it's a journey, right? That's not where it starts and where it stops. It's a lifelong uncovering of why we do what we do, and are we willing to make different choices? And it's not easy. It's really hard. It's really hard.
I mean, I guess we've heard about like how you guys are helping your clients. I'm interested in how you guys helping yourself. Like, so how do you manage to kind of prioritize your own mental health and self-care? So I guess my question is, what is the number one priority that you would not do without? Like, and how do you fit it in? Because you guys are helping people all day. And so how are you kind of helping yourself? Amina, is your time. Let's go. Come on in.
I was so intentional about not raising my hand first.
Let's do it.
Come on, girl.
I was like, wait for it.
She's taking care of herself. I'll tell you how she's taking care of herself because it's on her calendar. I know where she is all the time.
It's on my calendar. I'm pretty bullish about my mornings. So I don't start work until 11 o'clock, which I know is a privilege. And as a business owner, I've been able to design my schedule in a way that really aligns with my energy. But the one practice that I absolutely cannot live without and don't live without is my meditation practice. So I'm a Vedic meditator, and in the Vedic tradition, we meditate for 20 minutes twice a day using a Sanskrit mantra. I don't always get to my second meditation, but the first one happens every morning. And it's the biggest gift, because if I'm not taking care of myself and cleaning out my space, I can't show up fully for the people that I'm called to support.
Thank you for that.
Okay, note to self, no texting Amina before 11. Got it?
I won't respond, don't worry.
I know, but now I know why.
So who else is going to tell us?
Liz.
I'll go. I do a formal practice just today. Actually, I ended a 40-day sadhana where I was meditating. It was from Michelle Cassandra Johnson's new book, Finding Refuge. It was a heart-centered meditation sadhana, which is a daily practice that you do for a period of time, often 40 days. And so I finished that today. So I'll often have some sort of a formal practice. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have said definitely an embodied something like a yoga asana practice is really important. It's really important for me to feel in my body. I think, I don't know, I'm not sure why it is. I'll have to talk about it in therapy to find out why it is. But my most recent non-negotiable for myself, for my own care, is beauty. Just noticing beauty in my life, art, color, nature, flowers, sound. I just need, I feel like it puts me in the place where I need to be when I'm around beautiful expressions.
Jennifer.
I'll go next.
You're up.
Liz, I agree with you with the embodiment piece. And before the pandemic, I was teaching yoga full time in terms of schedule, and was all over the city all day long from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And that was not healthy, but I was constantly on the move. And so when everything shut down, there was this period where it was actually really great for a while because I got a really good rest. But then I was like, okay, we need to do something. So I do practice yoga pretty much every day. But for me, the practice that has been most healing and supportive has been just taking a walk every day. And I'm really lucky that I live in an area of Brooklyn that is quite scenic. It's very near to Liz, actually, and very close to Prospect Park, which is a beautiful park here in New York. And I've been walking this same route, basically. You know, I have like maybe a few variations, but same area every day for all these months. And it's been beautiful to be able to just see nature and see it change. And for a while, there was this house in the neighborhood that was, they were writing a poem on this like A-frame chalkboard outside of their house every day. So every day I would go and like go read the poem, and it became this really beautiful thing that I was looking forward to during sort of the darkest so far times of the pandemic last spring. And now it's definitely non-negotiable. So even if it's raining, when it's snowing, I'm like, I just need to go out. It has helped me to become more comfortable, even with some of the extremes of nature that we can like hide from, and really reinforcing that sense of resilience of like, I can be in this discomfort and make it through, and, you know, be with it, move through it.
And Krishna?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. I'm a fellow walker myself. That is honestly, you know, I could say meditation, but the truth of the matter is it's mindful walking for me. Being around trees reminds me of Robin Wall Kimmerer's book. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, Braiding Sweet Grass. And she talks about finding, basically what her message is, finding community in nature. And, you know, during the pandemic, at the beginning, I was alone most of the time. And that's where I felt myself fill my cup, in Central Park, you know. And other than that, it's also being with nature in other ways, like cooking, like touching food. I love cooking. And journaling is a really big practice of mine. And my meditation practice tends to be like mantra meditation and chakra meditation, and rest, trying to find rest in other iterations of what that word means. And that might just be like, sometimes rest is walking in the park, sometimes rest is sleeping, sometimes rest is taking a bubble bath, you know. That's how I take care of myself.
Thank you, Krishna. So we are actually kind of winding down.
I know, but I want to know how you take care of yourself. Come on, put the wellness.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a walker.
Let it go.
Oh, I'm definitely down with the walking. I was also in Central Park. I did the whole roundabout like twice. I needed it. I would go like really early in the morning, 7 o'clock, before I got my day started, because I needed nature. Again, I live in New York City. I live in an apartment. It was like, oh my God, if I keep looking at these four walls, it was just too much. So I was like, I just need to be out in nature. I need to hear the birds, the trees, the people. And it was actually my way of being around people, but also feeling safe. So I am a very intentional walker. And I was telling someone earlier today, I do therapy every Thursday at 9 a.m. and I take a walk while I'm doing my therapy session. So it's really important to me. But I want people who have questions to put it in the chat. But before we go, each of you guys are kind of a leader in your own field, and we like love collaborating with you. But we want you to tell our audience what's happening. Like, what initiatives do you have going on? And if you have something special to promote, please do that now. And Liz, please tell people more about Indigo108. But yeah, Liz, you want to go first, I guess? And then we'll go around.
Sure. So I have been busy at work, co-creating with Diana this Indigo108 program that will be an addition to the therapy that people are already doing so beautifully at BeWELL Psychotherapy. So now people can come to BeWELL Psychotherapy and they can do their talk therapy, and then they can also sign up for the Indigo108 program, which is a health coaching program using the framework and the lenses of yoga and Ayurveda. It's a one-on-one program, and there are a few different options that you have for doing the work. And then the really cool part is that you can come work with me on Indigo108 doing the embodied practices, and then you can be with a BeWELL therapist doing your mental health practices. And then myself and the therapist can be in touch about what we're doing on both sides there, so that you're really fully taken care of. It's true holistic care. So that's the Indigo 108 program. You can do a free consultation with me, sign up for that on the website. And so that's where you'll find me, is on the BeWELL Psychotherapy website. And then we're getting everything going behind the scenes. There's lots. We're busy, busy, busy. There's lots of good stuff going on.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you were here tonight, fun facts, and you were listening, and you we can see you. So and you go to the website and you sign up for your 20-minute consultation with Liz, which is that is a gift. You also get a discount on your first your blueprint session with Liz, and she'll tell you all about that. So that is our gift to you, along with Liz being the gift herself. So it's very exciting. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else want to tell our audience what you're doing? Okay, Krishna?
I'll be very quick. Next week, there's an intuitive eating course I'm leading starting on Tuesday. It's a 4-week series that uncovers all of our behavior, different structures around food and self-care. And I'm also teaching a yoga and cello class on October 17th, which is a Sunday, in Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem, if you're around. And if you'd like to learn more about me, I'm just putting my info in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay. Fun facts is that I love the cello, which is very outside my wheelhouse, but something that I could just listen to forever. And if you aren't following Krishna, if you need just sort of some inspiration, and you follow her on Instagram and see the beauty that is what is happening with this movement in the cello in the park, I'm trying to figure out how I can work it into my schedule for sure. I mean, it just looks amazing.
I'd love for you to come.
Oh, I can't get it. It's so beautiful. It's such a wonderful combination.
Does anyone else want to share anything with our audience before we go? Or do we have any questions? Amina, please. Oh, sorry, guys.
No, go ahead, Amina.
Thank you. So I have a group coaching program that is starting next week for anybody that is thinking about shifting careers or connecting to purpose and wants to do so framed through the language of wellness and supporting yourself as a whole system. Also, I'm very excited. I'm launching a new corporate offering that is in support of diverse leaders. Been working with people in leadership for a long time, and what happens is we tend to coach the one individual, and they change and they grow, but the system around them doesn't evolve, and they get coached out of an organization. And so this program is to basically implement a 360 coaching program to support the people in leadership that they're rolling up to, their peers, and everybody that reports into them, so that we can really address the whole system. I'm very excited about that.
Oh,
and please put your website in the chat, Amina.
Cool. Thank you.
And Jennifer?
So as Anisha mentioned, I have a book called Root and Nourish, an herbal cookbook for women's wellness, which I co-authored with my wonderful friend, Abbey Rodriguez. So you could find that on rootandnourish.com. That's our website. And we also have a wonderful online community. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, we're having a moon circle, in fact. So you could head over to there and find all of your great resources. Individually, I am an Ayurvedic health counselor, so I work with folks one-on-one. I'm also, though, really excited because this year I'm leading a community seasonal reset program that starts on October 8th. So if you're in a situation where you feel like you are in the sort of bananas crazy zone and need some accountability and guidance for simplifying and turning inward, it's a really great way to spend your time, and totally workable within having a job, having a family, but gives you some concrete tools for settling down and giving your body the rest and nutrition that it needs to be able to withstand this seasonal transition, so that you're very healthy and balanced going into the fall and winter. So that starts October 8th, and there's information about it on my website, which I will put in the chat.
And if you didn't hear the podcast with Jennifer on it, that Ednesha and I hosted, I love that book. That book is so pretty, and I am a cookbook collector for sure. I am always into a cookbook. It is one of the things that I do to take care of myself, is spend time in the kitchen. It's so pretty. I mean, it's just so insightful and has so many interesting things and ways to take care of yourself in it. I highly recommend it.
If you guys want to work with any of these amazing humans, please contact them on their websites. They have some really great things going on.
And we are going to repurpose this content as a podcast.
Yes.
So anybody who didn't come tonight will, and then they'll see it. But
in the show notes.
So all the information will be in the show notes is what I'm trying to say. So ladies, thank you so much for spending it's Tuesday, right?
Yes, it's Tuesday night.
Tuesday evening with us. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time and all the beautiful things that you guys are putting out in the world. I mean, there's so much I want to do. Like, there's so much I want to say, but I just thank you is where I'm going to go. And Ednesha.
Yes.
We got to stick the landing, girl.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So stay safe.
Continue to wash your hands.
Please wash your hands. The fact that we have to say wash your hands still is it's beyond me, but yes, wash your hands.
And do your best to give people 6 feet. We still want it. I still need it.
Ask before you go in. Like for sure. Like when you're going in, like ask. I was with Anisha.
Consent. Ask people for hugs. Okay, guys.
Would it be okay if I hug you? Like, she was very good with the language. She was really good. And I was like, okay. So make sure that like we're taking care of all of that. And I think that's it. So we're going to stop here and we'll see you next week. Okay.
And thank you guys so much.
All right.
Have a good night.
I already told you. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.